compared to most dealers. Stop by and see us at Dakota Discount RV, 3330 East Mall Drive across from Cabela's and on JB Road, Blackhawk.
Do you have a financial game plan for your life? Hi, this is Lee Cruz, your local trusted New York Life agent here in Rapid City. My passion is helping you put the pieces in place for your family to make sure your game plan is a success. For over 175 years, New York Life has been helping people like yourself take action in securing their future. Don't wait, take action and Google Lee Cruz New York Life or call 605-360-8804. We will work together on putting your family first.
Hi, this is David Brenneman with Coldwell Banker Black Hills Legacy in Rapid City. Have you thought about buying a home or real estate in the Black Hills? Maybe you want to upgrade to your forever home? I have been helping people in the Black Hills find the right home for nearly 20 years. When it comes to buying or selling, experience matters. Let me do the work and you can open the door to your new home. Say hello to a good buy with me, David Brenneman. To get started, just Google David Brenneman, Coldwell Banker.
KIMM Rapid City and K294BT Rapid City, the Black Hills Sports Station, 106.7 FM and 1150 AM, Fox Sports Rapid City.
No. The Golden State Warriors continue to list Jimmy Butler as questionable for tonight's Game 4 against the Houston Rockets. Warriors up 2-1 in the series. Tip-off from San Francisco is at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. A report from ESPN says that Butler is going to try to play tonight despite that hip contusion, but still officially listed as questionable. Cavaliers and Heat get the action going tonight in the association, 7:30 Eastern Time. Cavs look for the sweep in Miami in Game 4 as they're up 3-0. An MRI did confirm Bucks guard Damian Lillard suffered a torn left Achilles tendon in last night's Game 4 loss to the Pacers. Obviously, he's out for the rest of these playoffs. It could also affect his regular season status in the 2025-2026 campaign. Brandon Nimmo's hit a 3-run shot for the Mets. They're on top of the Nationals 6-0 in the 7th. Pittsburgh Penguins fired head coach Mike Sullivan after 10 seasons today. And the Commanders are going to be building a new stadium at the site of RFK Stadium. I'm Dan Beyer.
It's time for South Dakota's Sports Talk Show. This is the Nate Brown Show, featuring live callers, great interviews, and thought-provoking sports talk. From the biggest national names to the hottest stories across South Dakota. Welcome to the Nate Brown Show. Here's your host, Nate Brown.
All right, welcome in. It's a Reaction Monday on South Dakota Sports Talk Show. This is going to be a fun one. Hope you've had a great weekend. It is always a great day in South Dakota. Some moisture. We need it. Some moisture. Okay, let's get going. The Nate Brown Show is back on Fox Sports Radio. Welcome in. South Dakota Sports Talk Show live. Stream us on YouTube right now. If you're on YouTube, The Nate Brown Show, you've got us. Also on Twitter. Welcome in the audience watching on your phone, tablet, computer, at Nate Brown Show. Follow the show and watch us live on Twitter. Answer our questions of the day. Be a part of the conversation on South Dakota Sports Talk Show. Again, follow us on Twitter at Nate Brown Show. Glad to be back. Hope you've had a great weekend. Let's get going on a Monday. A lot to cover and a great guest lineup tonight. Let's get popping. Steve Steele's going to join us live from Pierre. Here's one thing that I love. When South Dakota kids get drafted, get the opportunities in the NFL, I mean, I follow these guys, and you have to. I know Gray Zabel went to North Dakota State, but you still got to pull for Gray out of Pierre, South Dakota. Gray Zabel goes to the Seahawks, and now we've got this list here, some nice players to follow. Tucker Kraft fan. I thought he was outstanding, passing up the money for the NIL and sticking with South Dakota State, and then now a big-timer at Green Bay. So more South Dakota kids in the NFL. What was it like to coach Gray Zabel in Pierre? Steve Steele is on tonight, Pierre head football coach. His reaction to Gray Zabel getting picked in the first round by the Seattle Seahawks. We will go down to Denver. James Merilatt covers the Buffs and that program. He's opinionated. I'm going to get his read. I don't know which side James is on tonight. James Merilatt's the senior editor, denversports.com, live, part of the 104.3 The Fan crew down in Denver. Reaction to the Buffs, Deion, Shedeur, that scene. John Bryce is on tonight, national college football writer, one of our favorites, footballscoop.com. He did a deep dive on Deion Sanders since he started at Jackson State. And John Bryce in tonight, footballscoop.com. And then the Vikings, they get Not very many picks. How did they make those count? What about the Vikings? Dane Mizutani, Vikings beat writer, reaction to the Vikes draft process over the weekend. TwinCities.com, part of the Pioneer Press. Dane Mizutani, Vikings beat writer from the Twin Cities, straight ahead. I did see that the Vikings got ranked by The Athletic as the worst drafting team in the NFL. I'm like, how can we go down that road? The worst? I know they only had essentially 4 picks, so maybe that put them towards the bottom anyway. But The Athletic says the Vikings had the worst draft out of anybody. Dane Mizutani coming up. By the way, J.J. McCarthy's going to meet the media tomorrow since the big injury and recovery and the whole thing. So Dane will be there. We'll get his read. What's he going to ask J.J. McCarthy, the new Vikings QB, tomorrow? That's coming up. Okay, let's get you on tonight. Be part of the conversation. I invite you in. Everybody has an opinion today. 605-720-1067. How you can share yours on the Pizza Ranch Studio Hotline. 605-720-1067. That's the number. Barron's Wilson text line open for you on the Nate Brown Show. Text us 605-720-1067. That comes right in here. 605-720-1067. All right. Housekeeping is done. Let's get into the scene. So, if you listen to the show at all, if you listen consistently, I appreciate you. Thanks for making the show possible. But you also know that I was kind of edgy last week. I was edgy because I said I think teams are going to make mistakes, specifically the Giants. I said the Giants, I don't know anything about the Giants, but I said the New York Giants are going to make a mistake. They're not going to go with Shedeur Sanders. They need a QB, and they're not going to go with him. Now, I was edgy. I didn't realize that Shedeur Sanders would just fall off the board entirely, but the Giants did. They didn't go with the QB. They did later, and they got Jackson Dart, and then the rest is history. And the whole story of the whole weekend, I'm getting texts from my friend Matt Kearney. You love him here at Fox Sports Radio, the producer of the Nate Brown Show. I'm getting texts from people. What's the deal with Shedeur? My unpaid production staff. These are my great contributors to this show. My unpaid production staff, who we regularly meet at lunch and just talk about the world's problems. They all were hitting me hard. And I said I was edgy going into the draft last week on this show. I said teams are going to make a mistake. Giants in particular. The Browns, I think, did make a mistake. You could have had Travis Hunter at number 2. They could have had Travis Hunter, the best player, at number 2, and they traded out of it. They got all of this draft capital. It's a beautiful thing, right? It's the Browns. They're going to mess it up. You can't trust. So I mean, look at what they did. Dylan Gabriel and then Shedeur Sanders. I mean, what are you guys doing? Of course you have all these picks. Good luck with them. So they could have had Travis Hunter and they could have had Shedeur Sanders. Do you know that the Browns could have elevated their brand and their organization right overnight? Just simply overnight by doing that? But no, the teams made the mistake. They got caught up in the circus, and this scenario played out over the weekend. By now, you know, if you listen to Fox Sports Radio, that Shedeur fell all the way to the 5th round. So let me ask you this question. This is what I want to know from you on South Dakota Sports Talk Show. Some South Dakota common sense here. What do you think was the biggest reason for Shedeur Sanders falling in the draft to the 5th round? What was the biggest reason for Shedeur Sanders falling to the 5th round? I believe there was 3 that were thrown around. So I'm going to give those 3 options in our Nate Brown Show question of the day tonight. 3 that were thrown around. I heard this. That's it. It's the Deion factor. Deion was out front. We don't want to go here. If this team takes him, we're going to decide where to go. And that circus that Deion brings with the brand, the marketing, the Deion thing. So the Deion factor, that's one. Then I'm going to get into what they said about Shedeur at the meetings. Just too cocky. Didn't interview. It was not good there meeting the team. So Shedeur thinking he's better than he is. That was a factor, just too cocky. And then the third, people are going to say, hey, NFL teams, if you're cocky, even if there's a little bit of edge, even if you're like LeVar Ball and that scene, if you're good, like LaMelo Ball, they're going to pick you anyway. So maybe he just wasn't quite good enough. Maybe he wasn't quite good enough. Those are the three reasons why you would be a top 5 projected pick and then fall all the way down the list, right? Those would be the, Deion, Shedeur himself, and then maybe he's not quite good enough, okay? Maybe he's not quite good enough. What would be the biggest reason for Shedeur Sanders falling in the draft? What would be your vote on those options for the question of the day? I want you to hit me on this, 605-720-1067, the Barron's Wilson text line wide open. Let's see here. We got 110 votes coming in tonight. 110 votes. This is on Twitter, at Nate Brown Show. Follow the show and vote in our question of the day. What do you think's the biggest reason? I want to know. I got some listener reaction here. How about another option, all of the above that you mentioned? Okay, you could do, I guess, all of the above. But I really want to know, was it Deion? Was it Shedeur just being too cocky? I can't have that guy. He's too edgy. Didn't interview well. He didn't prepare the Giants. That's the report. He didn't prepare for the meeting, and we just don't want that. Or maybe he just wasn't quite good enough. What do you vote? 43% of the audience starting off the Nate Brown Show question of the day tonight. Number one vote, 43% of you say it was the Deion factor that hurt him the most. The Deion factor, the circus that came with that hurt him the most. Deion getting out front. And by the way, I've followed Colorado football. I've been pretty invested in it. I've liked Deion for a lot of reasons behind the scenes. Old school, disciplinarian, wants the guys to go to class, does some really cool stuff for the players in his program. So you can hate Deion for whatever you want, but I've followed it, and I've followed it pretty closely. I like Deion for many reasons. It gets covered up by the Deion circus that people are voting for. And there is that cockiness. Say what you want. There's no humility there. I think they're okay guys. If you really look in the background of the program and how he's running it, I think they're okay guys. But there's no humility there, so it doesn't allow you to say, well, yeah, I think he just maybe wasn't quite good enough. It mainly allows you to say it was Deion's fault. 43% of you say that. 32% of you are voting for he's not quite good enough. 26% of you say it was Shedeur himself, just too cocky. Here's the deal. Listener text, none of the above. He's going to be an NFL starter someday, just not sure if right now. So he says none of the above. Listener text, one man's cocky is another man's confident. Remember that. Okay, let's see, 605-720-1067. The biggest reason you think Shedeur actually fell. I want to know what you say tonight from South Dakota Sports Talk Show. Listener text, he was overrated. So you would say not quite good enough, overrated. Okay, listener text, you can't purposely tank interviews. Everyone should take that away from the slide of Sanders. You can't purposely tank interviews. Well, I think that might have been... again, that's kind of a Deion factor. I think the thing there was, well, we're not going to go here. We might not go there. We're going to kind of pick and choose where we go. Not quite. That was a big misread. A huge mistake. A huge mistake. Whether I support Deion and how he runs some things and how he does some things, I like that. The humility side is tough for me. I don't love the look at me. I don't love the flashy dollar signs. I don't love all of that. I do like the way they go about things in a lot of ways, not from the marketing branding side. But again, that's been Deion from the start. I'm talking from the start of his career. There's no surprise there. You know what you're getting. Listener text, all football season, the talk around Sanders Circus was there are teams that he won't play for. So teams took them at their word. The Deion factor is getting the number one vote. Let me just let me tell you here on this. Let me tell you what I think. That's why I'm not a Shedeur Sanders homer at all. Like, I'm not like, oh, Shedeur, oh, he's the best ever, he's going to be great. But I think there's a lot worse guys that the NFL ends up just taking in and having no problem with. And so I think there's a double standard here. I think Shedeur and Deion are held to a standard. We love hating them. We don't like the bravado. We don't like the in-your-face, the dollar signs, the marketing, the draft room, the whole thing. We love hating guys like that, but we don't look at it and say 3.9 GPA at the University of Colorado, no crimes, no trouble. So why do we hit Shedeur so hard over the weekend? We cheer for his demise. We hit him hard when he hasn't done what a lot of folks who have gotten drafted have done. We're talking some serious stuff, and we didn't say much about it. You didn't hear him get upset about it. This team drafted this guy in a domestic abuse case. This team drafted this guy. Nobody really says much. It might make one headline, and then we just go with, well, he might be a good player. The teams, they really investigate all this stuff. They look into this. We're hammering Shedeur on how he handled the interviews and how Deion made mistakes and the whole thing. We hold them to a standard, and then the off-the-field stuff, no crimes, no trouble, no nothing, and we still think these other guys, well, that's okay. They can make mistakes. Everybody makes, you hear that in America. Everybody makes mistakes. Let's give them a second chance. But we didn't want to give these guys much of a chance, right? And I think that's just from the in-your-face, look-at-me type thing. So I think Shedeur Sanders made mistakes. That's the way it sounds. And Deion Sanders, I know, made mistakes. And so now, will they correct those mistakes? Meaning, self-reflective, looking back on it, what did we do wrong? How can we now correct that? That's what organizations that are successful do. That's what people that change and have success do. And maybe Shedeur will do it. I don't know. I think he has a pretty good background from grades, from no crime, no trouble. I think Deion is old school. He wants accountability. He wants players to go to class. He wants all of that. So you can be in your face and it rubs people wrong, yet we hammer these guys over the weekend. We just root for their destruction, and they're not, I don't think, half as bad as some of the guys that have been playing in the league. And we look the other way. Thanks for calling. You're live, and you go ahead.
LeVar Ball.
Similar?
I think it's the exact same thing. I think teams don't want to... this is like Little League taking over the NFL. If they allow that kind of stuff to happen, where, dad's going to go to the coach, especially someone with Deion's stature, saying, hey, you're not playing my kid right.
Yeah.
You're not doing this right.
So you think Deion,
I think
heard
that's part of it, I'm sure.
Okay.
I think a part of it is, if what the New York Giants coach said, that you gave him a playbook to study and come to the interview with, and he just was like, no way.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
I don't think that's a good look. And I think, that was, who was that kid back that the Oakland Raiders drafted years ago that was Jamar Russell, right?
Yeah, Jamarcus Russell. Yep.
Yeah. He didn't understand the plays. And now I'm not saying Sanders doesn't understand the plays, but he wasn't interested in learning them.
Yeah.
To be able to go to an interview, I mean, that's all they're asking him to do.
No, I think there was mistakes made. I do, obviously. Mistakes were made. Did we hammer him up maybe a little harder than most? I think so.
Yep.
I think so.
Absolutely. I think what those kids at Georgia did was awful.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a long list. Yes.
That's just cruel beyond measure. But
Right. I get it, man.
I mean,
Appreciate you.
He may turn out to be the next greatest quarterback in the NFL. I don't know. The next GOAT. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. He got a chance now, I guess, but barely. Appreciate you.
I feel bad for him going to Cleveland. That's kind of,
not great.
That's like dead on arrival. I mean, poor kid doesn't have a chance there.
Youch. We'll see. Thanks, man.
See you, bud.
Appreciate you. Thanks for getting on. That's all I'll say. I'll leave it at that. Mistakes were made by Dion and Shedeur. Will they be a little more humble? That would go a little ways for them. They built their brand, and it's a strong brand. It's a big-time brand. They built their brand on flashy, we're great, we're this. And, by the way, Shedeur Sanders, second in the country in touchdown passes last year. So I have to say, well, not quite good enough. Second in the country in touchdown passes. Third in the country in yards. First in the country in completion percentage. So, second touchdowns, third yards, first in completion percentage. But not good enough? I'm not buying it. Coming right back with Dane Mizutani, Vikings beat writer. How did the Vikes do? The Athletic just said they did the worst out of everybody. I thought that was the Browns, but Vikings beat writer Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press next.
This is the Nate Brown Show.
Hey, Sioux Falls sports fans, there's a great new sports bar in Sioux Falls, Boston's Restaurant and Sports Bar on West Russell Street in the Ramada Water Park Hotel. If you want to watch games, UFC, they've got it, wall-to-wall TVs, and the best part, great food. Gourmet pizza at Boston's, tons of wing options, great burgers, and a lot more. Bring the family, bring the team, bring your crew to the new Boston's Restaurant and Sports Bar in Sioux Falls on West Russell Street. Plus, you can order online for lunch or dinner. Just go to bostons.com.
Okay, who's ready to fish? Fleet Farm's all stocked and ready to go with the hottest brands to help you gear up for the season. Like the latest lines and lures from Berkley, Fluger rods and reels, Northland tackle, bobbers, and bait, all sorts of Senko worms, the best in fish finders from Humminbird, Lowrance, and Garmin, St. Croix rods, new releases from Abu Garcia, and more. Stop in and check out the latest fishing gear from all your favorite brands at the best prices guaranteed at Fleet Farm.
Hey sports fans, it's Rob from the Firehouse Skybox. We are Rapid City's premier sports bar with everything you want for the best game watching experience. Bring your crew and take in the action while enjoying our Firehouse craft beers, specialty cocktails, and a great menu of Firehouse burgers, nachos, and more. We have every game, every night on our 35 big screens, and there's not a bad seat in the house. Come and watch your favorite team at the #1 place for sports, the Skybox, right above the Firehouse, Main Street, downtown Rapid City.
Here's your Fox Sports Rapid City forecast. A wind advisory continues until 6 p.m. tonight. Chance of rain showers tonight, otherwise mainly cloudy skies expected. Lows dip down to about 34. Northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. High temperatures reach up to 66 tomorrow, mainly clear skies. Lows dip down to about 44 tomorrow night. That's your forecast on the Black Hills Sports Station, Fox Sports Rapid City. Right now, it's 41 degrees.
The best used cars and trucks are at the place that sells the best used cars and trucks, Denny Menho Toyota. Choose from better quality pre-owned and buy with no down and make no payments for 90 days. Shop used Toyotas and Toyota certified pre-owned with financing as low as 4.99% APR for up to 60 months. For the best used vehicles, see us first at Denny Menho Toyota or DennyMenhoToyota.com. 1887 for 1,000 finance, regardless of down with qualified credit. Expires 4/30/2025.
This isn't just the sound of a legendary Brunswick pool table. It's the sound of families about to make memories together. And while this may sound like the hum of a spa, listen closely and you'll hear backyard fun for years to come. So while Splash City's guarantee of quality sure sounds good, we know quality time sounds even better.
Who wants another burger? Splash City, 1024 West Omaha, across from Connects in Rapid City. At Black Hills Federal Credit Union, we are committed to improving the lives of our members and bettering our communities. As your community credit union, we're here to get to know you and your unique needs. From extended service hours to the newest technology, we have you covered. Stop by any location to get started or text or call 605-718-1818. BHFCU is member-owned, not-for-profit, and federally insured by the NCUA.
Your sports, your show. From East River to West River, this is South Dakota's sports talk show, The Nate Brown Show.
Welcome back in. The Nate Brown Show just getting going on a Monday. What a weekend. What a weekend in sports. Wild. John Bryce coming up, national college football writer. He covered Deion Sanders at Jackson State to Colorado. How big did Deion hurt Shedeur? John Bryce, footballscoop.com coming up. Steve Steele's on tonight. Pierre, head football coach. Gray Zabel, picked by the Seahawks in the first round. We'll be rooting for him. You got to, man. South Dakota kids, you root for all these guys. Tucker Kraft to Gray Zabel. Dallas Goddard. Steve Steele's coming up, Pierre head coach. What was it like coaching Gray? Did he think he was an NFL kid back in the day for the Govs? Dane Mizutani's on tonight, courtesy of the Pizza Ranch Studio Hotline from TwinCities.com, part of the Pioneer Press, Vikings beat writer. Dane, good to have you. How are you?
I'm good, Nate. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for the time on the Vikings. I got to get your read here. You cover them. They didn't have a bunch of picks. How smart did they use their picks? Went offensive line, went wide receiver, some defense. What did they do with their picks?
Yeah, I think if you log on whatever sports website you consume your sports media and you look at the draft grades, they're probably not being very kind to the Vikings today because they only had 5 picks. I've seen them ranked anywhere from they're 30, 31, 32. But the way they entered this draft with 5 picks, or they actually entered with 4 and they end up with 5.
Yeah,
they were never going to get graded well in this draft. But when you kind of zoom out and look at what they did with what they had going into it, I think they did a good job just accomplishing really a continuation of the goals they had at the start of this offseason. We'll start at the top. Donovan Jackson, he'll probably slide in and play left guard right away for the Vikings. Now, I know people are going to look at that pick, and they're going to say, well, they could have traded back and got more picks. And that sounds good in a video game. That sounds good in the mock simulations that you do. But when you read the board and you look at it, you don't know if Donovan Jackson's going to be there if you trade back 8 picks. So the Vikings like their guy. They took him, and I think he's going to be a starter for them day one. The rest of the draft, it's just about adding depth. You get a guy like Ty Felton. He'll play receiver for them. He'll contribute on special teams. And that's kind of the trend that they kind of followed throughout the rest of the draft. Day 2, they get a guy, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. He's a guy who I think he'll probably play in a rotational role on the defensive line, not necessarily asked to do too much early, but should be able to contribute. Same thing for Kobe King. Same thing for Gavin Bartholomew, who they took late. So it's not going to grade out well, but it's because they didn't have, 1, a high pick, and 2, they didn't have very many.
How is that for the Vikings fans? Would you say, Dane, I know, fans are fans, but I talked to a Vikings guy who's like, this was the least excited I've been about a draft ever as a Vikings fan. It just led to that. So people want to get excited about the future. Are Vikings fans like, well, draft is what it is. I guess we did all of our damage in the offseason.
Yeah, I think fans are still excited about the future of where this thing is headed because J.J. McCarthy is at the forefront of that and because they just spent $300 million in free agency. So I think that's where the excitement stems from. But I don't know who you talk to. I would agree with whoever that was. This was the least excited I've been for an NFL draft because they had so few picks going into it, and it didn't really feel like the positions that they needed to fill were all too that sexy. It was, they're going to probably go offensive line. They're going to maybe go defensive line. It wasn't the marquee positions that get people really excited. And I think when you pick at 24, it's already kind of puts a damper on it because you can't go through the mock drafts and really project who's going to be there. You're just kind of guessing. So I think that probably all contributed into why there wasn't all this fervor heading into the draft. And then you look at what they did last year, too, that like everything was about the quarterback. This year, they have the quarterback. So I think the hangover almost of how exciting last year's draft was is a big reason people probably weren't excited for this one.
Vikings get 5 picks. Dane Mizutani on, Vikings beat writer, TwinCities.com for the coverage. He's getting ready to get introduced there to J.J. McCarthy coming up tomorrow. I'm going to get to that. How about this, though? No safety, no corner. Should they have done something there?
Maybe. Like, if they had more picks, I'm sure they would have. I'm sure the way their board fell, where they took people, probably just fell in line with, well, we really value what we're getting here, or the positional value, or where they were on our board to where they were, slotted to pick. I think that's probably what led the Vikings not to adding to their secondary. I think if you wanted a safety, it's probably because you saw Nick Emanwari talk to them a bunch of times and they don't take one at all. They love Theo Jackson, and that's very clear. I don't think he's necessarily a household name because he's been a reserve ever since he arrived in Minnesota via the waiver wire. They love Theo Jackson. I think that's a reminder for maybe why they didn't prioritize safety. Same with corner. They signed Isaiah Rodgers. They obviously have Byron Murphy Jr., but they're betting that Mekhi Blackman is going to come back from that knee injury and be okay. So we'll probably see them sign a cornerback at some point here down the road. We'll probably see them add to the safety room maybe late, during training camp. But I think they feel comfortable with the secondary, even if it might not be the marquee names that to hold on to.
You think they should have tried to get a Gray Zabel, go up to get a Gray Zabel instead of settling for Donovan Jackson? Or they think, no, Jackson at Ohio State, this is the guy?
They love Jackson, so I do know that. I don't know what would have sparked them to I don't know how much they loved Gray Zabel. I don't know how much they loved Tyler Booker. I do know they love Donovan Jackson. I would say with 4 picks at your disposal entering the draft, it really kind of hampers your ability to move up and go get his Gray Zabel if you like him that much. I think also when you enter this draft with 4 picks, you probably want to make sure you enter next draft with more picks than you did in this draft. So I think that probably contributed to them not moving up, not trying to navigate the board in a forward motion way. I know a lot of people thought they may trade back. They didn't do that either. So they love Donovan Jackson, and you meet the kid. He's not the most exciting. He's not going to give you the most, the best quotes, but you can just tell he's a darn good kid, and they're happy with how he's going to fit with their culture.
What should we think of the pickup of quarterback Sam Howell? He's going to be backing up J.J. McCarthy in case things go south. What do we think of the pickup?
I love it because it means we can officially stop talking about Aaron Rodgers. They have their backup quarterback. They do. And really, when you look at what they gave up to get him, they moved down 30 picks or so in the NFL draft. Small price to pay for a guy like Sam Howell. Like, you're not going to get a lot of people who are banging the drum so excited about the Sam Howell edition. I get it. But let's pump the brakes. He's the backup quarterback, and that's all he's going to be asked to be. And he's a backup quarterback with 17 games of experience starting in the NFL for Washington. I know they went 4-13 in those games, but the Washington Commanders were a dumpster fire before Jaden Daniels came to town. So I wouldn't put that all on Sam Howell. I think the experience that he has under his belt, coupled with you don't have to pay him a ton because he's on the end of his rookie deal. I think the Vikings like that. Think they like that they can go forward and give J.J. McCarthy all the reps, and they're not bringing in a guy who's going to be demanding for reps in practice. This is very much done with J.J. McCarthy in mind. They haven't named him the starter, but he effectively is. I think Sam Howell is going to be their backup, and I think probably one that he might not be moving the needle now. I think people are going to be fine with him once the season rolls around.
Dane Mizutani on tonight from the Twin Cities, Pioneer Press, TwinCities.com, Vikings beat writer. J.J. McCarthy meeting the media for the first time since essentially coming back. What do we want to find out from J.J. here this week?
Yeah, I just want to pick his brain, man. Like, the kid's so interesting, and you could tell in training camp that he was going to be a joy to work with and talk to, and even just chopping it up not on the record. We didn't get that experience because they kind of hit him last year when he was on injured reserve. We talked to him, I believe it was in September, in front of his locker shortly after surgery, and haven't talked to him since. So I just want to mainly know, how did he get through this? He's extremely, interesting guy who, is really focused on, both his physical and mental health. I want to see kind of how he was able to kind of navigate a pretty big storm early in his career. I'm sure he'll talk about it. He loves to kind of go in deep. So very much looking forward to talking to J.J. McCarthy tomorrow, and then more regularly here as OTAs, training camp, and of course next season come around.
Dane, this feels a lot different now, expectations-wise. We weren't sure what was going to happen last year before he got injured. Now the expectations are, this is your team. I wonder how he feels going into this.
Yeah, it's totally good, fair question. There's going to be expectations. It's probably his car to drive, and this team, after winning 14 games, is going to have pretty sky-high expectations. After spending $300 million in free agency, is going to have some pretty sky-high expectations. Is he up for it?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Big
Everything
time.
we've learned about the kid so far, I think he will be.
Big-time difference between last year and this year's J.J. McCarthy and the Vikes now getting ready to roll. Dane Mizutani will meet McCarthy for the first time since his rehab coming back. TwinCities.com for the best coverage of the Vikings. Dane, good to have you. Thanks a lot.
Anytime, Nate. Thank you.
Appreciate it. TwinCities.com. Pioneer Press. Vikings beat writer Dane Mizutani on tonight from the Twin Cities. Find him on Twitter. Follow him at Dane Mizutani if you want to follow the Vikes. All right, interesting. Vikings get a ranking from The Athletic with their 5 picks. 4 going into the draft. They picked up 1. 5 picks. They ranked him 32nd. That's last. I don't know. Everybody and their mom has a opinion about this team did good, this team did bad. My Broncos, I'm going to talk later about this. My Broncos just feel like we're going to put together the best defense in the history of football. We don't have enough defensive players. Let's take more. We didn't get really any game breakers on offense. And so speaking of, this team did good, this team did bad, I'm going, everybody's like, the Broncos, what do you think? Our defense, can we hold teams to 2 points a game? I mean, we are that good. Might want to do some offense. Might. A little bit. James Marilat's coming up from Denver, denversports.com. He'll join us later on tonight. First, let's go to John Bryce. Want to get his take on this. College football writer. What did he think of the draft and the scenario? Footballscoop.com's John Bryce next.
This is South Dakota's Sports Talk.
There's nothing like it. Not for hundreds of miles in any direction. A gathering space for all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds. To share, to revel, to stand together and celebrate life's greatest moments.
We are number one, so you can always be their number one. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number one hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
Military, first responders, teachers, Renewal by Andersen is offering a heartfelt thank you with its first ever appreciation sale. 20% off every window and door, no money down, no interest, and no payments for 18 months. Plus an additional 9% off if purchased on the initial consultation. That's 29% off. Military, first responders, teachers, this is a limited time offer, so do not wait. Please book your free estimate right now at RBARapidCity.com.
all-new Mr. Liquor 2 announces their first-ever Tacos and Tequila Festival. On Saturday, May 3rd, kick off Cinco de Mayo weekend with 6 food trucks on site and serving right on the outside patio. Slip inside the Campfire Grill and grab a margarita, and bring it along as you enjoy free samples of various tequilas throughout the store. It'll be a party you can't miss. The first-ever Tacos and Tequila Fest, Saturday, May 3rd at the new Mr. Liquor 2, off Catron next to Walmart in Rapid City.
Looks like winter is losing its grip and we are headed for warmer weather to come. How did your car make it through the winter? Hi, this is Martin from Al's D&I Repair. Winter is hard on your car, especially on the components underneath. The sand and chemicals that make winter driving safer can affect the brakes, chassis, and exhaust parts. While you have your car in for routine maintenance, we'll inspect your car to make sure you are set for spring and summer travels.
Al's D&I Repair on Sturgis Road. Call 348-1447 to set up your appointment.
Whether you run the race, make the catch, cast a line, pitch a tent, or just look good doing it, Shields Rapid City has your gear. From athletic clothing from your favorite team, cold weather gear to keep you warm, to the best camping selection this side of the Black Hills, and the most stylish and functional women's outerwear and footwear. Shields has the widest selection of the best brands in the business. So when you're ready to get out, get in the game, or get going, get to Shields. Shields, we're right there with you at Rushmore Crossing in Rapid City.
The doctors and staff at Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center have provided expert bone, joint, and muscle care to patients in the Black Hills area since 1976. Whether you're an elite athlete, a weekend warrior, or just want to continue your active lifestyle, the orthopedic experts at Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center will help you stay in the game. Don't let an injury keep you from doing the things you love. Trust the team at Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center, specializing in what moves you. Learn more at bhosc.com.
Live callers, big-time interviews, and breaking sports news. This is South Dakota's sports talk show, The Nate Brown.
Hey, thanks for being here on a Monday. Hope you've had a great day. It is always a great day in South Dakota. The motto of the show. Just make sure you know that, okay? South Dakota Sports Talk Show on Fox Sports Radio across the state. Thanks for checking in. Stream us all the time on Twitter, at Nate Brown Show. Follow the show, interact with us, and watch us live at Nate Brown Show if you're on Twitter. John Bryce is in. Interested to have his perspective here. He's covered college football a long time. He's done some good stories on Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders all the way back to Jackson State. And, of course, now the story of all stories of the weekend. So let's go to him. John Bryce in tonight, footballscoop.com, national college football writer. John, good to have you. How are you?
Always good to visit with you, Nate. Just landed back from California, where my wife ran the Big Sur Marathon, so kudos to her.
Big time. That's excellent. What were you doing?
I was cheering her on. So,
That's me. That's me. Okay, I understand. Good support.
Yeah, I lift. I don't do a whole lot of the cardio stuff.
I believe. Anyway, that's good.
We did the Teton Half Marathon together 2 years ago. So
okay.
I may have begun and ended my career, road racing career, with that one.
Okay, I love it. My daughter's doing the Mickelson Trail Half Marathon in Deadwood, South Dakota, coming up in June. So I cheer her on as well. I'm very supportive. Okay,
let
me get you on this, John. What do you think the Deion Sanders factor had to do with the fall of Shedeur Sanders over the weekend? Was it a factor? Deion's we might not go here, we might do this, we might do that. How big of a factor?
You know, that was so many months ago, Nate, that I don't think that played a major role in it, because in more recent weeks, Deion had sort of come to grips, I think, with the marketplace and realized this is not remotely the NIL landscape of college athletics, that if Shedeur was going to be drafted, that a team was going to draft him and have his rights, and there was not going to be any recourse about that, and that basically, you know, you'd be very lucky to be drafted by any franchise into the NFL. Even the worst franchise in the NFL, if it drafts you in the first round, it's guaranteed to make you a multimillionaire. So I don't think that was a huge factor, to be honest, Nate. I really don't.
Okay, let me get your read on. You covered these guys. It's not like you know them like an insider, but you did some stories on them and covered them at Jackson State. Now going to Colorado. What were your interactions, your takeaways from Deion, Shedeur, the quote-unquote circus? What was your takeaway?
Yeah, certainly with Deion, everything is calculated and orchestrated. And now when we talk about this past weekend's draft, I would say the Deion effect was the way that ESPN announcers gushed over Shedeur and argued about when he should have been drafted and all of that stuff. I would call that the Deion effect because I've never seen such fawning over a prospect. I can't remember such public fawning over a prospect, such embarrassing fawning. But Deion is very calculated, but he's been very gracious to me. And I remember the first time I talked to Deion on a video conference and was totally not expecting him to necessarily know who I was, and he immediately knew who I was and exchanged pleasantries with me and was very cordial. He's very opinionated. He's very headstrong. He's very proud of his sons. He's a proud father, like there are thousands upon tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands out there. He just happens to have one of the largest platforms of any proud father in the world. And then he also has his own bona fides to back it up. So that's where I would start with that. Travis Hunter is fairly media shy and has sort of been just about his business on the field, and he's branched out more in the last couple of years at Colorado. Shedeur is a little bit flashier on the media front. He's flashed his luxury cars some, especially once he got to Boulder a couple of years ago, and been chronicled a lot by his brother, Deion Sanders Jr., who's the oldest of the group. And so, they've not been malicious guys, and I know we're going to have more questions, and I think that's when we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of why he fell so far, Nate.
See, and that's what I want John Bryce on tonight, footballscoop.com, national college football writer. I said this. I'm not a Shedeur homer, I'm not a homer, but I don't mind the player. I don't love the lack of humility in certain ways. There's a lot of flash there, the legendary, the brand, the money signs, the money on the logo on the towels. I mean, all of that stuff, that's Deion from the start of his career. So it's not a surprise to me. But I also say this. I think people hammered Shedeur, and you said there was analysts where we're fawning over him, but a ton of people in the league, and he got hammered, and there's no trouble. There's no off-the-field crimes. There's no 3.9 GPA. I don't know why we hammer him in certain ways. Why did he get hit harder than most because of the situation?
I think we probably know how much more he got hammered because of the situation. I don't think there were more of it, or it was more high profile whenever someone hammered him in some of these pieces that are every year. They're great, insightful pieces too. And when you look at these draft pieces that poll anonymously player personnel directors, scouts from all around the league, assistant coaches from all around the league. There's these anecdotes and tidbits every year. I mean, James Pierce, a year ago, the Tennessee kid, was being talked about as a top 3 potential number 1 overall pick because of his dynamism at the D-edge position. But then all the character issues floated for Pierce, and people are still stunned that not only that he went in the first round, but that the Falcons gave up so much to slide back into the first round to get him. So we hear stuff about character issues, about not being prepared for these individual team meetings. When you're a top 30 of an NFL team and you come in unprepared, then that's the same thing as going into a job interview and not knowing a thing about the company you're trying to get to hire you. And that's the interpretation that I took from it. That's the whispers that we certainly have heard from it, that he was just ill-prepared in a lot of these settings. And you know what? If you're Michael Vick, if you're some of these other guys, and you're ill-prepared, then they'll look over a lot of that. But if you're not that supremely talented and you're ill-prepared, it's hard to recover from that. And it's especially hard to recover from that if a franchise is going to make you the face of the franchise and pay you, at that point, if you're a first-round quarterback, you're talking tens of millions of dollars. I think the first-round quarterback, I think Cam Ward is expected to make a guaranteed $50 million off of his Titans deal, $49 million. If you're basically ensuring a half $100 million investment into this guy, you want to know that you can present him as the model of your franchise and that he's going to show up to things. And that's why, look, whenever Nico Iamaleava comes out of UCLA and enters the NFL draft, be it when he's eligible next spring for 26 or beyond, you don't think all this stuff's going to come up in probably even more force with Nico Iamaleava? Because we've touched on some of it. I mean, he was a disaster going down the stretch at Tennessee and was a train wreck teammate, and he left, I'm told by people in Knoxville, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars just on the table because he never bothered to show up for autograph signings. I can't imagine being as young as you are, Nate, let alone as young as Nico Iamaleava, and leaving literally several hundred thousands of dollars on the table because you wouldn't go show up for autograph signings. And so it's the NFL. People will joke, but there's a lot of merit to it. They check your background a lot harder than the FBI, and they talk to people that the FBI doesn't talk to if you're applying to the academy. And I think that's a lot of it.
I don't know Shedeur. I see the way Deion runs this program. In a lot of ways, it's old school, John. You know that. He's old school in a lot of ways. People that don't know it think it's all flash and just look at me stuff. But you think there's character issues with Shedeur? I'm not so sure just looking at his background. Now, not being prepared, that's one thing, but I'm talking character issues as a player.
No, I don't think there's anything or anything dark out there on Shedeur Sanders at all. I give Deion a lot of credit, not just for how he's raised Shiloh and his daughter and Deion Jr. and Shedeur, but the way he's been transparent about the accountability he seeks to hold those guys to in all of his program, be it at Jackson State or now at the University of Colorado. And so, no, I don't think there's, not character issues in the terms of legal whisperings and things like that. Character issues perhaps in terms of how great of a teammate is he, especially in the NFL where you're going to be humbled, and is he a good enough teammate to handle being humbled and dealing with it and moving forward and still keeping the locker room? Also, how much would he have had to overcome to get the locker room on his side because of the narrative entering the draft?
All right, John Bryce tonight on Deion Sanders and the situation. What do you think of the Browns? The Browns, I said this, John, honestly, as a media guy, I go, wait, you could have gotten Travis Hunter second, and then you could have got Shedeur. I mean, that would have taken the Browns to just from a branding side. Why not do something like that? They passed on Hunter, and they took the Capital instead.
Yeah, I think overall Cleveland had a pretty solid draft, Nate, and I can't stand the Cleveland Browns much like I don't really care for your Chicago Cubs, nothing personal. And so it pains me to have to admit that I think they had a very solid draft, and they got Shedeur much later, and now again, it's literally like 1/100th or 1/50th of the investment that it would have been if they had taken him at number 2 or what have you. They still got some guys that they identified on their board early by making the Hunter trade. And look, they had told Hunter earlier in the week they were drafting him. Adam Schefter reported it at length, and so I think they were blown away by the package offered by Jacksonville. And Jacksonville is sort of at a seminal moment for that franchise because they're trying to make sure they don't waste Trevor Lawrence and don't have to hit the reset button at the quarterback position. And so that's why they go and make a move like getting him. And that's why I think I believe they also ended up taking Travis Etienne. I can't remember. But they did some other things to address needs to make the offense better around Trevor Lawrence. And the Browns still had a good draft. I'm not bothered by the Browns taking Gabriel 3rd and Shedeur 5th. In the NFL world, those are both low-risk investments that have the potential to give you very high rewards, especially depending on where Cleveland truly had Shedeur Sanders ranked on his board. And one more quick point I want to make about Shedeur Sanders is that over the past few years, from his time at Jackson to his time at Colorado, I've talked to opposing coaches. Especially, I had a number of contacts in the SWAC when he was down there playing for Jackson State and HBCU, and those guys were adamant 2+ years ago that, like, he's not a franchise quarterback. They didn't see it. They were like, look, he's good. He's very accurate. They don't ask him to do a lot. A lot of his stuff is simple, but they were like, he's got a long release. He's got some flaws. He does not have superpower arm strength. They really liked his decision-making overall. They really liked his accuracy overall. But for the last 3 years, I've not had anybody tell me they believed that Shedeur Sanders was a franchise bona fide top 5 pick. And for all of Mel Kiper's buffooning and stuff over the weekend, let's not ignore the fact that leading into the draft, we saw this stuff that said Cam Ward would have been the 5th or 6th quarterback taken a year ago, and Shedeur Sanders would have been about the 10th quarterback at best taken a year ago. And so, yeah, it's being talked about now. It's the news of the moment, but I just really wasn't surprised by it monitoring the draft because I don't think it's there. I don't think it's there for him to be an elite, truly elite franchise cornerstone quarterback. I think he can develop into a Geno Smith type of quarterback. I think he can develop into a Baker Mayfield type of quarterback, but I don't see him being a Justin Herbert, a Lamar Jackson, potentially a Trevor Lawrence, or some of the other guys that I'm not naming here just at this moment, but I just don't see that in him.
John Bryce, good stuff tonight. Follow him at John D. Bryce 1 and his work, footballscoop.com, the new layout of the site. Good stuff, John. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks a lot, Nate. Take care.
Thanks. Appreciate that. John Bryce on tonight, national college football writer. Good guy to have. He covered Deion and Shedeur from the start at Jackson State. Footballscoop.com, national writer John Bryce. Here on the Nate Brown Show, I've got 2 things for you. Okay? We'll put a cap on this draft talk. The one pick I hated because I saw this team, I saw it coming. I said, they're going to screw it up, right? They're going to screw it up. Please, please. I hated it on Thursday night. And what do I think Shedeur Sanders will be with the Cleveland Browns? Let's be honest. Next.
This is the Nate Brown Show.
There's nothing like it. Not for hundreds of miles in any direction. A gathering space for all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds. To share, to revel, to stand together and celebrate life's greatest moments.
We are number 1. So you can always be their number 1. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number 1 hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
Military, first responders, teachers, Renewal by Andersen is offering a heartfelt thank you with its first ever appreciation sale. 20% off every window and door, no money down, no interest, and no payments for 18 months. Plus an additional 9% off if purchased on the initial consultation. That's 29% off. Military, first responders, teachers, this is a limited time offer, so do not wait. Please book your free estimate right now at RBARapidCity.com.
Sports Rapid City Forecast. A wind advisory continues until 6 p.m. tonight. Chance of rain showers tonight, otherwise mainly cloudy skies expected. Lows dip down to about 34. Northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. High temperatures reach up to 66. Tomorrow, mainly clear skies. Lows dip down to about 44 tomorrow night. That's your forecast on the Black Hills Sports Station, Fox Sports Rapid City. Right now, it's 41 degrees.
Being in business has its rewards as well as its challenges. It means being the first one in the door in the morning and turning off the lights when you leave at night. Your business is unique, and you need a bank that understands your needs. You deserve the best. You need a financial partner that is invested in your success. You need Pioneer Bank and Trust. Don't settle. Pioneer. Pioneer Bank and Trust. Local.
Pioneer Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
It's the trade-in sell-down event at Spearfish GMC Cadillac, and that means lot-wide deals on our entire lineup of locally sourced pre-owned vehicles. Choose from all makes and models, trucks, cars, SUVs, and certified pre-owned, all priced below market for unbeatable value. Whether you're trading in or trading up, now is the time to save big at Spearfish Motors. Visit us today or browse anytime at spearfishmotors.com.
Cadillac Jacks is Deadwood's exclusive home of the Roaring Riches Jackpot. Just be actively playing your favorite slot machine with your club card engaged for your chance to win. The Roaring Riches Jackpot starts at $7,500 and must hit by $10,000. Plus, you can keep up to the minute on the current Roaring Riches total on your Cadillac Jacks mobile app. Roaring Riches has already paid out $2 million. Anyone at any time on any spin. You could be the next to win. Only at Cadillac Jacks Gaming Resort.
This is The Nate Brown Show, also streaming live on YouTube. Subscribe to The Nate Brown Show on YouTube.
Welcome back in on The Nate Brown Show. Let's take a look at what's on tap tonight. Still to come, James Merilatt live from 104.3 The Fan, Denver, denversports.com. James Merilatt's on tonight. Steve Steele's coming up here. Governor's head football coach. His player, Gray Zabel, going to the Seahawks in the first round. That's a great story. Steve Steele's on the way. What's on tap on The Nate Brown Show, brought to you by Mr. Liquor 2 in the Campfire Bar right inside it. Has 20 local brews on tap off Catron Boulevard. Check out live sports, the NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs at the Campfire Bar inside the new Mr. Liquor 2 off Catron Boulevard, Rapid City. All right, I've got two things I want to hit on here before we get into the next hour. One thing is, one pick I hated from the NFL draft. I'm not going to hammer my Broncos. Maybe, hang on. But the one thing I hated Thursday night, because I thought they're not going to do it, right? They're going to mess it up like they always did. And then he landed in their laps. And I think this guy's a great character guy, unbelievably hard worker. I know his assistant coach, who told me this guy's the real deal. That was a text that he sent me. He said, the real deal. From start to finish, inside the locker room, the whole thing. Boise State's Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders. I absolutely hated it. Why? It's the Raiders. My Broncos are going to have to face Ashton Jeanty and battle him down 2 times a year, and the Las Vegas Raiders finally make a good call. It just killed me Thursday night. Listener text coming in on this, by the way, from a Broncos fan. I got to find this. This was sent here. Listener text from a Broncos fan on the text line. I was hopeful they wouldn't take Jeanty. You and me both. You and me both. So the Raiders make the right call. They get Ashton Jeanty, and I thought, just from a Broncos standpoint, I go, man, wouldn't it have been nice for the Broncos to try and get Ashton Jeanty? They would have had to trade up. They would have had to get pretty aggressive. But instead, the Broncos just settle for the Central Florida running back, R.J. Harvey. I don't know. I mean, everyone's like, well, yeah, he'll be good. He's a B+. Yeah, that'll be good. It's Ashton Jeanty, one of the all-timers, going to the Raiders. They finally didn't screw it up. So I hated that. We'll see where that goes. And let's see where the Shedeur Sanders things go. Let's see where this goes. Are you trying to tell me that Shedeur Sanders is not going to beat out the great Kenny Pickett? You're trying to tell me he's not going to beat out the great hat rack Joe Flacco? He's like a hat rack back there. He can't move anymore. Are you trying to tell me he's not going to beat out, speaking of Mr. Character, Deshaun Watson? What were we worried about the Browns picking up Watson after all the accusations and all the stuff in his life? No problem. We hammered Shedeur harder than we did Deshaun's problems. But so we got Deshaun in the mix, and then Dillon Gabriel. You trying to tell me Shedor's going to not beat out those guys? I have a feeling Shedor's going to be starting, not week 1, but he'll be starting this NFL season. He'll be starting this NFL season. And what a story it will be. It'll be a great story. Travis Hunter, it would have been better if the Browns would have just taken him as well. Big miss. Could have had 2 of the guys right there. Would have taken the Browns from wherever they're at. Are they in Cleveland still? Anyway, from wherever they're at, and people would have found out in a hurry. Okay, let's see here. Listener text. Is Ashton Jeanty that much better than Harvey? They're both the same size. Well, I'm just going off by looking at his body of work. I mean, Ashton Jeanty was historically one of the better running backs, producers in the history of college running backs. We're talking like Barry Sanders level. He didn't quite get there, but so that's what I'm saying. And then I think I'm probably a little biased because our great producer of the Nate Brown Show, Matt Kearney, you want to talk about a Boise State homer. I mean, this guy bleeds blue. Look out. I've seen it. He bleeds blue. And an assistant coach there at Boise State who I know well told me a long time ago, Ashton Jeanty is a great player and a great leader, just an unbelievable worker. And so I love guys like that. I love guys like that, and I think the Raiders got a steal. We'll see R.J. Harvey. I don't know. I don't think you could put Harvey and Jeanty in the same category, but we'll see. The Broncos went a little later for a running back. Let's get into the second hour. What do you think should happen to this side story? Speaking of circus, the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator's son made national headlines here. It was on CNN, the whole thing. What should happen to the Atlanta Falcons situation with the D coordinator's son prank calling Shedeur Sanders? He pranked him hard over the weekend, acting like the Saints general manager. You think something should happen there? We'll discuss next.
This is South Dakota's Sports Talk Show.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks. Our locally owned Ace stores are committed to helping our neighbors and our communities. And because we're in the neighborhood, we can deliver almost anything you need. So shop in store or online for whatever your home or yard needs. Choose from top brands like Milwaukee, Steel, Traeger, and Benjamin Moore. Then pick up in-store, curbside, or we'll deliver your order right to your home. Around the block, what you need in stock, with people who know how to help. See acehardware.com for details.
At Dakota Bank, we're more than just a place to bank. We're your neighbors. From everyday banking to home mortgages, insurance, and trust services, we're here for every step of your financial journey. We believe in doing what's right for you because we live here, work here, and care about our communities just like you do. Go with confidence, go with trust, go with Dakota Bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Insurance and investment products are not FDIC insured, may lose value, and have no bank guarantee.
Hi, this is Dr. Dan Jensen at Physio. We want to be your trusted partner for physical therapy, athlete development, and sports rehab. As the official strength and conditioning partners for Stevens, Central, Douglas, and the Rapid City Rush, our team at Physio is building the best athletes in the Black Hills. If you have an athlete in the family, we offer long-term athlete development at affordable prices for middle and high school students. We also have the only board-certified sports PT in Rapid City. At our brand new facility, Physio is ready to help you perform at your best. One-on-one physical therapy, athlete development, and sports rehab, all at one place. Get started at bhphysio.com.
Collins Siding has been the region's premier window siding, door, and gutter installation specialist since 1974. They use only the highest quality materials and never compromise on their workmanship. Collins Siding is licensed, bonded, and their estimates always include labor, materials, and applicable permits and taxes. Collins Siding has been providing top quality service and exceeding high standards for over 45 years, and you can find out how by visiting them at 2016 Cherry Avenue. Collins Siding, 2016 Cherry Avenue, Rapid City.
KIMM Rapid City and K294BT Rapid City, the Black Hills Sports Station, 106.7 FM and 1150 AM, Fox Sports Rapid City.
Sprockets Fun Foundry, joy and fun for everyone. Immerse yourself in another world with virtual reality. Play the newest arcade games, all the lanes. Sprockets Fun Foundry, always family friendly fun. Something for everyone. Birthdays and
and parties. Online at Sprockets.fun. Sprockets Fun Foundry. Joy and fun for everyone.
Chatting with Brian at Anytime Auto Sales Service and Detail. Well, time to see how your car weathered the winter.
That it is. Let's make sure your vehicle is ready to handle the warm months ahead.
Being a AAA and ASE certified shop, I know you guys are well equipped to do just that.
Justin and our techs have all the experience you need in diagnosing and repairing whatever may be ailing your vehicle.
And if finances are tight for customers, you can help there?
Yes, we can. We offer the AutoPass card, which has really been a huge help for people who are in dire need of repairs. Call us with any questions on this program, or you can get an answer in minutes right from our homepage at anytimeanytime.com. Just click the AutoPass Apply Now button.
What a great option for those who have repairs that just can't wait.
Absolutely. It's been a fantastic opportunity for many people.
Anytime Auto Sales Service and Detail, everybody. The place to trust. Your complete AAA and ASE certified automotive repair specialist. See anytimeanytime.com and at the corner of Highway 79 and East Minnesota.
Anytime Auto Sales. One more time.
This is the Nate Brown Show. From the biggest national names to the hottest stories across South Dakota. Welcome to the Nate Brown Show. Here's your host, Nate Brown.
All right, second hour ready to go. This hour is driven by Summit Automotive Group. When it comes to pre-owned in South Dakota, take a look at SummitAutoGRP.com. Right there in your phone, inventory's up. Experience car buying built around you. Start at SummitAutoGRP.com. The Nate Brown Show is on Fox Sports Radio. Stream us all the time on YouTube. The Nate Brown Show. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. You can watch us live and the archive shows. The Nate Brown Show on YouTube. And one more place on Twitter. Live stream. Welcome in studio. On Twitter, you can watch us at Nate Brown Show if you're on Twitter. James Merlat's on tap from DenverSports.com, senior editor, DenverSports.com. Steve Steele on tonight from Pierre. What does he think of his former player, Gray Zabel, going first round of the Seattle Seahawks? Steve Steele on that and more. Let's get into this situation that was the side story of the Shedeur Sanders saga over the weekend. And this one's really interesting to me because if you have kids, you're always trying to teach them to do the right thing. They're kids. They're going to make mistakes. So I'm talking to all of you guys out there. What should happen here? Did you follow this? If you haven't seen it, it made national headlines. This was in the news, actually on news channels. The Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator's son, who's a 21-year-old college student, his son prank called Shedeur Sanders and thought it was funny. So I'm going to say this. It's one of those things where everybody was piling on Shedeur Sanders anyway. So everybody was piling on, and he's dropping, he's this and that. And then here you have this prank call. And he got the number off of his dad's iPad, which had all of the numbers of the prospects. Okay? So this is secret stuff. And the iPad was there wherever, in the house or whatever, and the college kid's like, man, look at these numbers. And got it, and then decided we're going to do this. And then, it was posted on the internet on top of it. So they did it, and then they posted it on the internet, took video of it. I mean, this is classic social media 101, which just is a mess. I mean, we make a mistake, they make it a million times worse. Let's post it on the internet. Oh, this is great. This is like all the kids. They're videoing fights. Let's video. Yeah, let's post it. Let's do the just dumb stuff. And so now the 21-year-old called Shedeur and apologized, and the Falcons released a statement. We apologize for the whole thing. This was a breach. And so I want to know if there should be accountability. When it comes to the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator, it was his son. Can you do something to the Atlanta Falcons or the coordinator himself? Do you think there should be a consequence for the coordinator's situation in this? Left the iPad, all the numbers, the son got it. Now we got a mess on our hands. And it really was, really, really bad look. I mean, people say fun and games and stuff like that. Really bad look. We're talking life-changing moment for Shedeur Sanders, and they stole it. I mean, they made a mockery of it, right? And so the whole thing, Shedeur was having a tough weekend as it was. And now you throw in he's getting punked by college students. And by the way, to the credit of Shedeur, and I've stuck up for Shedeur, he handled that really well, didn't make a big deal of it, didn't whine, didn't pout, just moved forward. A lot of people say, I can't believe this, and the NFL, and the protocol, and they released my number. And I mean, you could have made a big deal of it. But I think he just took it and moved on. Should there be a consequence from the NFL for the Falcons D coordinator's son prank calling Shedeur and that situation? My like a consequence. What do I mean? Well, it's not going to be like hardcore. But what about a fine? What about a fine for the organization? Should it be for the D coordinator? I mean, they're not going to go hardcore and go over the edge. But should there be a consequence like a fine, or it was a college kid, you just let it go? We get a listener reaction here that said they could maybe cut out access for the son and the family. Cut out access to the Falcons for the son and the family. Okay, that's interesting. What do you think? Could you have a consequence there? A fine, cut out access, or it was a college kid, you just apologize and let it go? 605-720-1067, Barron's Wilson text line, and Pizza Ranch studio hotline. Do you think there should be a consequence? Our question of the day in the second hour of the Nate Brown Show tonight. I'm just curious because if you think about this, here we brought it in-house on Fox Sports Radio. We brought it to our situation. So I don't have like a ton of famous people's numbers, but for a South Dakota sports guy, I got quite a few. I was taking a look at my phone. I'm like, man, I've saved some numbers over the years. Terrell Owens, people like that. So, from interviews I've done years ago. And usually I'll just save those just in case. So, I don't know, how about Kalen DeBoer? Oh, that's a big name, Kalen DeBoer. South Dakota guy. I've had him on the show. I've got his number. So, let's say I'd leave Kalen DeBoer's number on my desk. I leave it on my desk. Somebody comes in to the office. They get Kalen DeBoer. They call him, hey, this is the Minnesota Vikings. This is, we're going to hire you to be our next head coach. And it was a prank. Is that on me? Do I get hit on that? I think I would get hit. The Nate Brown Show prank calls. Nate Brown's daughter prank calls Kalen DeBoer and acts like I would get hit on that. I think I would. Listener text coming in. I think you could fine him. That would be appropriate. Listener text. Do nothing. Kids will be kids. Oh, I can't. I don't know if I can let that one go. That's a bad look for the Falcons. Irresponsible. And I'm wondering what dad and son have talked about. Everybody thinks it's cute. 61% of you voting no consequence. Let it go. 39% of you, yes, you could fine him. Have a consequence. You could fine him. I think you might hear something about this. Maybe not. Might just let it blow over. And he might say, oh, well, we'll just let everybody apologize. We're good to go. But you got to be responsible. And you have secret stuff like that in a big moment for people. And this is secret stuff. You got to be careful throwing it around. Boy, wouldn't that be interesting? I got all these numbers. Maybe I should have my daughter call. I don't know. I've got some NFL guys in here. Maybe have them call them up and say, hey, what we could bring you to South Dakota. We could pay you $1 million. Come to South Dakota and put on a talking engagement. We'll pay you $1 million. Oh, sorry, just kidding. I mean, all this stuff. You got to be careful with that. Listener text, I think it's a bigger deal than people think. Shedeur Sanders handled it fine. Another one, no big deal, silly. All right. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. James Marilat's in next. DenverSports.com, 104.3 The Fan, live from Denver. What grade did the Broncos get? What grade? And how? What type of players did they take? Sean Payton and George Payton. They took the same type of players that they did the past couple of years. James Marilat next.
This is South Dakota's Sports Talk Show.
How do you make a buffet day even better? Make it a play day. The Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade is your place for good food and good times. Won the big game? Make it a play day. Aced your test? Make it a play day. Just need to get out of the house? Make it a play day. The Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade has all your favorites and all kinds of fun. So bring your family, bring your friends, bring your team. For good food and good times, make it a buffet day and a play day at the Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade.
Saving money on your outdoor project now at Menards. We have everything you need to keep your outdoor power equipment running smooth so you can keep that lawn in tip-top shape or enjoy some time on your boat. Right now, all FVP lawn and garden and marine batteries are on sale. Check out our entire selection of FVP batteries today and view our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals.
Save big money at Menards.
You want trucks? We've got trucks at Denny Menno Rapid Chevrolet. Shop our largest selection of new Chevy HD trucks in years. 13 2500s, 12 3500s, gas, diesel, and dualies, all with our exclusive $1,500 Denny Menno discount. Plus, get factory cash rebates or financing as low as 3.9% APR for 60 months. The trucks you want are at Denny Menno Rapid Chevrolet or DennyMennoRapidChevrolet.com. Together, let's drive. $18.37 per thousand finance regardless of down with qualified credit. Expires 4/30/25.
Here's your Fox Sports Rapid City forecast. A wind advisory continues until 6 p.m. tonight. Chance of rain showers tonight, otherwise mainly cloudy skies expected. Lows dip down to about 34. Northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. High temperatures reach up to 66. Tomorrow, mainly clear skies. Lows dip down to about 44 tomorrow night. That's your forecast on the Black Hills Sports Station, Fox Sports Rapid City. Right now, it's 41 degrees.
Hey, sports parents and ballers of all ages, Rapid City has a new sports facility that you have to check out. E3 Sports Complex on East North Street is the newest indoor sports facility featuring 4 full courts. E3 Sports is here to serve the community and wants all athletes of any age to come and experience expert training, coaching, and the opportunity to unlock your athletic potential. Memberships and court rentals are available now. Come to play at E3 Sports Complex. Learn more at E3.
Spring is in the air. Ready to hit the road this season? How about a new ride with a new car loan at unbeatable low rates for qualified borrowers? At Highmark Credit Union, you can drive away with low rates, flexible terms, and the freedom to make every trip to Highmark or on the road feel like a spring vacation. So, what are you waiting for? Spring into action today with a car loan from Highmark today. Visit HighmarkFCU.com or stop by and see us. The road to savings starts here. We'll make it happen. Terms and conditions apply. Visit HighmarkFCU.com for details. Federally insured by the NCUA.
So, I just got the State Farm Personal Price Plan on my car insurance.
So you told your agent you play the bagpipes for your dog?
What? No, I didn't get that personal. My agent just helped me create an affordable price just for me. Okay, let me show you what I've been working on. Hey, Buster!
Contact me, State Farm agent Scott Carlson, to create your personal price plan today.
Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
From high school to college to the pros, from Rapid City to Sioux Falls, the Nate Brown Show is South Dakota's Sports Talk.
Welcome back in. Your Sports, Your Show. The Nate Brown Show is on. Glad you're here. Monday edition, just getting the week started. Hope you've had a great day. Thanks for checking in, making this show possible. We appreciate it. South Dakota Sports Talk Show on Fox Sports Radio. James Marilat's on tonight. I want to know which way he's going to go here. James, great guest. He is with 104.3 The Fan. It's denversports.com. denversports.com. Find him on Twitter at James Merlat. James, welcome on. How are you?
I'm great, Nate. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you. So I want to talk Broncos and that situation, but I want to go one more on Shedeur Sanders and the Deion scenario. So you tell me the biggest reason that Shedeur fell. It's my question of the day. I put in the Deion factor, we're big time, we're maybe going to go here, not going to go there months ago. The Shedeur, too cocky, not prepared, bad meetings, or maybe not quite good enough. Why do you think he fell?
I think it's all of those things. I think at the end of the day, it's an old boys club, and he rubbed everybody the wrong way. And it was like, you know what? That's not how we do it here. That's just not how this. That's not how this multi-billion-dollar organization functions. So we're going to send a message to you. We're going to send a message to your dad. We're going to send a message to everybody else who's coming down the pike in the next 10 years that this isn't how we operate. You do this the way we want you to do it, the way we tell people to do it, the way we've always done it, and that's how it's going to go. But listen, if he was Andrew Luck or somebody that people looked at and said that's a generational talent, it wouldn't matter, right? Like Eli Manning, the Mannings got to play that card. They got away with it. John Elway got to play that card. He got away with it, but they were guys that were so good you couldn't pass on them.
Yeah.
When you're, not quite that good, they'll send a message. But Boomer Esiason today went on his show, and he was ripping Shedeur, and he said, there's a bunch of owners around the league, several owners who went in and said, take that guy off our board. When's the last time that happened? When's the last time multiple owners, went in and told GMs and head coaches, you can't draft that guy? That tells me it's the old boys club coming in and saying, you know what? We're going to make sure that this doesn't become the new norm. We're going to send a message.
How do you think Shedeur and Deion will handle this now? I look at it and say successful people and organizations have some reflection. They maybe look at it and say, what should we do better? I felt like since the draft drop started, they handled things a little bit better now. What do you think they do now?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I actually thought the way Shedeur and Shiloh handled when he got picked, and the fact that seemed to be pretty pure joy when he was selected in the 5th round at 144, way below where anybody thought he would. And they were excited, and it was a cool moment. I'm like, okay, that's a sign that maybe you're starting to get it a little bit. So I definitely think he'll roll into Cleveland and not be the guy that's talking a big game and being brash and trying to tell everybody, hey, this is what happens when I'm here. I think he'll have to show up and just be a lunch pail guy, which is probably the best thing for him long term. But the other part of this is, like, look, he's not as good as some of those generational guys I mentioned, but he's a darn talented quarterback. I mean, there's not a single person who had him lower than 2nd or 3rd in terms of the quarterbacks in this class. So he can play, and I think this is probably the best thing because maybe he'll get some of that extracurricular stuff out of the way and just go worry about football.
Okay, some people say the Browns, that's a bad place. That, the organization's terrible. But I go, okay, he's got to beat out Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and I guess Deshaun Watson. Do you think he's going to play? Do you think he's going to start mid-year?
I do. I think he's going to end up winning that job. The big thing is going to be, does he get enough opportunities in mini camps, OTAs, training camp? I mean, these practices, you go to a Broncos practice, it's like, there were certain times last year I saw Bo Nix throw 8 passes during an entire practice. Like, how much of a impact and how much can you shine? And that was in a 3-person race. This is going to be a 5-person race, probably 4. Deshaun Watson won't be back, but will he get an opportunity? I think he's the best quarterback of that quartet, though. He's certainly better than Flacco and Pickett and Dylan Gabriel. So if the Browns are smart, and you know what, they get a bad rap. Like they've had a ton of injuries, but Kevin Stefanski's won Coach of the Year award. They've been to the playoffs a couple of times in the last 4 or 5 years. It's not as bad as some people like to normally think about the Browns. I think he can. I think he can go there. I think he can succeed there. Kevin Stefanski, like I say, good offensive mind. That's not the worst place in the world for Shedeur to land.
James Merlat on tonight, denversports.com. hey, what if James Merilatt's son prank called Sean Payton? Would you be in big trouble?
I would be in big trouble, but my son would be in even bigger trouble. Just at home, like it just would not. That would not go over very well, especially if he was, quote unquote, stealing. And I mean that, it's not like he went into a store and walked out with a Louis Vuitton bag or something. But you stealing that information off your dad's work computer or work, iPad or whatever. Like if he was breaking into my work computer, taking information and doing something like that, he would be in big time trouble. Listen, I get why certain people took some joy in Shadir's slide. I get why some people thought he, needed his comeuppance, and to some extent, I kind of think he did. But there was a point where it's like, man, falling from 3 to 21 would have been that. Falling into day 2 would have been that. At some point, it got to, it's like, man, if you got an empathetic bone in your body, you got to feel for somebody in that situation. Then to go out and do that is just, to me, that's just being cruel. And I'm all for a good joke. I'm all for a good prank. I'm not normally a super overly sensitive person. I just thought that was completely uncalled for, especially when you're the son of somebody who works in the NFL. I think you got to be a little bit of a higher standard there in terms of what that league tries to represent. So, yeah, I would have been in trouble, and my son certainly would have been in trouble.
I wonder, should there be a consequence? It's my question of the day, like a fine for the coach or the organization for it was a data breach, really.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And look, I don't like when people are screaming and hollering that somebody should get fired. That feels very cancel culture to me. Mistakes happen and things happen, but certainly there should be some sort of punishment. There should be some sort of fine. If I was the dad, I would have made my son and the kid he was with film a video calling Shadir Sanders and apologizing, and I would have posted that on social media. Like, there needs to be some sort of consequence to it. We don't have to try and ruin anybody's life or ruin anybody's career. I think, that's not necessary, but it was a very poorly thought out prank, and it just clearly was not the right thing to do.
James Merilatt joining us from Denver. It's denversports.com. Let's go to the Broncos now. I've seen people grade them B+. I'm looking 3 picks on offense, barely. Barely. One of them really late. So a ton of defense again. How good's this defense need to be? Should Bronco fans be upset that they're going defense again?
I don't know if upset. I will say it was a bit of an underwhelming draft by the Broncos. That doesn't mean it's not going to turn out to be a good one. It's just, there wasn't a big name. Even when they went with the positions where it's like, man, got to get Bo Nix some help. We hear that all the time. It's like, okay, Harvey, Patrick, they probably drafted a little higher than people thought they should have been. They weren't big names that, we all watched all the time. They weren't, when you pass on Hampton and some of the names we've all been talking about for months, like, that's going to disappoint people. But I do think they addressed most of their needs. I do think that loading up on defensive line and edge rushers, you can never have enough of those guys. I know that sounds cliche, but it's just a reality. And this is a defense that, as good as they were last year, they tapered off at the end of the season. After Thanksgiving, they were the worst defense in the league, and in that playoff game, they could not get the Bills off the field. So I don't think addressing that side of the ball was a mistake. Cornerback, to me, seems like, I say this about Pat Surtain. He's a great player. He's a defensive player of the year, but it's a luxury position. We saw it again against Buffalo. The defensive player of the year's out there, and it didn't matter. The Bills still had the ball for 42 minutes. You can just stay away from one guy. So unless they had him as like their 6th or 7th best player in the draft, and you just can't possibly pass on him at 20, that seems like a bit of a luxury that maybe this team can't quite go for. But I think they got some interesting guys. I think they checked a few boxes. I'm not unhappy with their draft. I just wasn't doing cartwheels down my street. I'll put it that way.
Would it have been smart or big time to go up and get Ashton Jeanty? Like, is he a generational player?
I don't think he is. If he turns out to be Saquon Barkley, then sure, you do what you have to do. You go get him. If you're not sure that he is, I don't think you need to, or I don't think you should have. So time will tell. But yeah, there's the other part of it that made it tough is you got guys going to the Raiders, guys going to the Chargers, that people had talked about here and thought about here, and now, we didn't in Denver fill the need at running back, which is just a gaping hole, and some of the guys that, people wanted here are now going to be on the schedule twice a year.
Yeah.
That's going to make it tough, and then guarantee you, Omarion Hampton, the golden kid from Texas, the receiver, the guys that went 2 picks and 3 picks after the Broncos went with a corner. Those are picks we're all going to be comparing for the next 5-6 years. So time will tell. But Sean Payton likes to think he's the smartest guy in the room. He's certainly drafted like he believes that. We'll see if it turns out to be the case. Again, I don't hate their draft. I don't have any problem with any of their picks. It just wasn't something that had much sizzle or wow factor.
James Merilatt joining us on the Nate Brown Show. Follow him at James Merilatt on X, denversports.com. Last one, switch gears, NBA. Are the Nuggets going to win this series?
I think they are. I picked them in 6 at the beginning of the series. I think they're going to win tomorrow night, and then at that point, I think they go close it out in L.A. I think they learned their lesson last year of going to Minnesota for Game 6, just kind of like mailing it in. We'll take care of it on our home court in Game 7, and we all remember how that turned out. So I do think the Nuggets, who after they, that Game 3 debacle, everybody had them for dead. We were writing stories on the website about it being 1-2-3 Cancun. And for them to rally like they did, come out and have a good performance, and then get the emotional win at the end, I just thought it was a series-turning type of a game. That's a crusher for the Clippers. So, yep, I think the Nuggets win this thing. I think they win it in 6.
Denversports.com for the coverage on the Denver sports side with James Merilatt. Always appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you bet, Nate. Anytime.
Appreciate it. James Merilatt on tonight. Follow his work, denversports.com. 104.3 The Fan, live in Denver. Boy, hopping place from Shedeur Sanders to the Broncos to the Nuggets. You see that Nuggets little dust up there. James Harden and what is it with the NBA guys? The Wolves yesterday against the Lakers. I was like, wow, Rudy Gobert with a elbow to the back of the head of LeBron. Anthony Edwards pushing LeBron around. Very interesting. You guys want physicality? We got some physicality. What do you think of the Browns taking Shedeur Sanders? I said I think Shedeur could start there, not right away, because they're not going to let him. But I think he'll eventually be the quarterback there. Lister text coming in. I worry that the coaching staff of the Browns will sabotage Sanders. Did you see their disappointment in the video war room? It speaks volumes. And let's hope not. That'll be the next conspiracy theory on the Nate Brown Show. The Browns are purposely sabotaging Shedeur Sanders, like the Sean Payton sabotage of Russell Wilson. Remember those days, right? Anyway, thanks for playing. Steve Steele's coming up next from Pierre. He's the head coach for the Governors. And he has an NFL player, Gray Zabel, drafted in the first round by the Seahawks. Steve Steele's reaction next.
This is the Nate Brown Show.
There's nothing like it. Not for hundreds of miles in any direction. A gathering space for all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds. To share, to revel, to stand together and celebrate life's greatest moments.
We are number one, so you can always be their number one. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number one hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
Military, first responders, teachers, Renewal by Andersen is offering a heartfelt thank you with its first ever appreciation sale. 20% off every window and door, no money down, no interest, and no payments for 18 months. Plus an additional 9% off if purchased on the initial consultation. That's 29% off. Military, first responders, teachers, this is a limited time offer, so do not wait. Please book your free estimate right now at RBARapidCity.com.
First Source in Rapid City, Spearfish, and Hot Springs is your go-to building materials partner. Whether you're building new or giving new life to an old space, we provide step-by-step guidance from drafting and cabinetry design to lifelike visualization and top-quality materials. It's your vision, and we're here to make it real. Visit BLDR.com. Builders First Source, your Black Hills partner in building every step of the way.
Ready to be part of something big? Meet the Rapid City Sports Commission, the powerhouse behind sports in Rapid City. The commission focuses on bringing regional and national tournaments, supporting homegrown events, and creating opportunities for our kids. But it's not just games, it's a win-win for all of us. Youth sports fuel our economy. Hosting events in Rapid City means out-of-town families shop, dine, and stay with us, which boosts sales tax revenues too. To get in on the action, visit rcsportscommission.com, where we're all about the hustle.
Hi, this is David Brenneman with Coldwell Banker Black Hills Legacy in Rapid City. Have you thought about buying a home or real estate in the Black Hills? Maybe you want to upgrade to your forever home? I have been helping people in the Black Hills find the right home for nearly 20 years. When it comes to buying or selling, experience matters. Let me do the work and you can open the door to your new home. Say hello to a good buy with me, David Brenneman. To get started, just Google David Brenneman, Coldwell Banker.
Looking for a great place for a pregame meal that really satisfies? Or maybe you want a place to take your all-star after the game. Or you're looking for a place to enjoy a delicious meal while watching your favorite team on the big screen TV. Valley Sports Bar and Grill has all the bases covered for all those things and more. Top-notch, friendly, and attentive service. Wall-to-wall big screen TVs with all the big games. And the absolute best wings in Rapid City. Valley Sports Bar. Make it your place. 1865 Valley Drive, Rapid City.
You're listening to The Nate Brown Show, also streaming right now on X. Follow us and watch the show live at Nate Brown Show.
It is South Dakota Sports Talk Show, Monday edition. We're back at it. Thanks for being here. The Nate Brown Show live every afternoon drive on Fox Sports Radio. If you missed some of the show, you can't catch the first hour. Maybe you catch the second hour, vice versa. Maybe you missed some of the shows. You're doing stuff. You have a life. You can catch the show on demand. So you can get the Vikings draft analysis tonight. We had Dane Mizutani on, Vikings beat writer. College football reaction from John Bryce. He covered Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Deion Sanders from the start in Jackson State. So if you missed some of the stuff, go to the Nate Brown Show podcast. Every show there, just search the Nate Brown Show wherever you get your podcast, and you can download it on Amazon, Apple, Spotify. So good way to do it if you can't catch us live. Thanks for being here. Steve Steele's on tonight. What a day in Pierre on Thursday. The Governors have an NFL first-round pick. Gray Zabel. Great player, of course, goes to North Dakota State. All-timer. And he goes to the Seahawks in the first round. His head coach in Pierre, Steve Steele, and he's on tonight on the Pizza Ranch Studio Hotline. Coach, good to have you. How are you?
I can't complain. It's been a really fun week, and just appreciate you having me on tonight.
Well, thanks for the time, man. We talk a lot over the years and your program and the whole thing. So I want to go back, take me back to Gray Zabel being in Pierre when he just gets into your program. There's good athletes there. When he's just starting to get into your program, what do you think of Gray Zabel?
Yeah, I mean, he had started as a sophomore back in 2017. His brother Peyton was our quarterback. That was the first of our championships in our run, and he'd been a tackle. And then, in the state championship game, he'd actually had to switch to center at halftime. Our center had his hand cut, and he walked up and he's like, "Gosh, their nose guard's a man. This is going to be fun." And I think that's something that always stuck. Is just he was always such a competitor. Always really looked for a challenge, and I think as he grew, his mind is what just really set him apart from so many other great players over the years.
Okay, so I look at his ability, and you got to have the size, you got to have the ability. What type of a worker was Gray Zabel? NFL player, Steve, it doesn't just happen. I mean, you got to have the build, the athleticism, the whole thing. what set him? You talked about some of the stuff. He was a competitor. What about his work side? What made him stand out?
Yeah, again, like you said, he has to check all the boxes because that's just part of getting to that level. But, I think the two things that really stand out for Gray are, he's a guy who truly hates losing. I think that is more than anything else. He does whatever he has to do to avoid losing, and he hates it so much that it's not even about winning in a lot of ways with him. It's just about not losing and always trying to find a way to be the best. And then I think secondly, what I touched on it earlier was just his mind. He was such a cerebral player for us on the offensive line. He was always in watching film, and I remember him coming in between classes or at lunch and drawing things up on the board. And back when him and Cam Miller were both NDSU commits, they'd talked, and he brought some plays, and he was like, Cam's running this, and wonder if this would fit in ours, and let's see if we can finagle this, and just that eagerness and that understanding of football at the level he had was it's very uncommon to see in a high schooler, and just something that I know he's continued to build on and continue to improve. That's really set him apart through this process.
We're talking to the Pierre head coach, Steve Steele, one of his former players, now the first-round pick for the Seahawks, Gray Zabel, out of Pierre, and goes to NDSU and now to Seattle. So here's what people want to know, Steve. They always people have asked me this. I was college roommates with one of Mike Miller's buddies, and so they asked me, did you ask him, could they tell that Mike Miller was the man, like an NBA player when he was in Mitchell? So could you tell in Pierre, you're just coaching high school football. There's so many things that have to fall into place. Did you think Gray Zabel could be an NFL guy?
I think it's one of those things where it had never happened. We'd never had a draft pick, period, not more or less first-round pick. So, I don't know that was even necessarily in our thought process at the time. We knew he was the best lineman, one of the best ones in the state. And, his recruiting process was kind of fringe FCS or FBS, Iowa State, Kansas State. There were some schools sniffing around, but a lot of them, you got to remember he only graduated at, maybe 6'4.5" and 250. And you go and look at him today, and he's 6'6.5" and 320. And he's kept the same athleticism. So I think that part was tough to, on his recruiting process, just because his options were limited, because the boxes were a little different at the FBS level and the FCS level, and those statistics in terms of his height and weight came after he graduated high school. But, in terms of everything else, he checked all the boxes, and I would say there's always a lot of kids that do those things, but, there's a lot of things that have to go right in your time in high school and then in your time in college to get to that point.
So take me into the personal side of this. Who's your team NFL-wise?
So I have the last couple of years it's been fun to be a Lions fan, but I don't know that I would have said that the first 33 years of my life.
You're a Lions guy. Okay, so now how do you do you going to be watching the Seahawks? You being around Gray all those years. How do you balance this now? You got to be watching Seattle.
Yeah, we'll be watching Seattle, and I think it's no different growing up a Michigan fan and having Lincoln be the quarterback at Ohio State. Ultimately you've got more connection to Ohio State and Seattle right now than I do to Michigan or the Lions. So it's a pretty easy switch. You always just want to cheer for your kids and the ones that you're connected to have success, even if that's at the expense of your favorite teams growing up.
I bet it was something on Thursday night. What was that experience like for you as a coach? You said it's been a fun week. What was it like when Gray got the call and you watched that thing?
Yeah, we had there was kind of a watch party at the event centers, and it was a full place and it was packed, and the roof came off when his name got called, and then he had kind of a family deal over at his house, and made our way over there later, and it was just a surreal whole evening was surreal, and it was something that was really neat because it as cool as it was for Gray, he made it cool for really all of Pierre. There was a lot of buzz around town last week. There still is now that you're seeing the videos get released from Seattle and seeing him get to make the phone call to the 7th round draft pick. It's just been a really cool thing, obviously for the Zabel family and for our football program, but even beyond so, it's been really cool for our whole community.
Does this type of generational thing for a Pierre town and then your program, Does this make a difference for young kids, 3rd, 4th graders playing football there?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I mean, on Friday, we at the same event center, we kind of had a more of a party, and Gray was there, and, you know, seeing the kids go up to him, I mean, there's really nothing better than that, you know, than seeing all these kids grow and see a real-life example of an NFL player that came from the same town they're in right now. And, you know, the fun part is hopefully it's not our last draft party, you know, I mean, that hopefully this is just the beginning, but you know, it's just really cool to really see all the kids know that it's real now, and know that, you know, just being in the middle of South Dakota doesn't mean you can't make it. And, you know, he started out wearing the same jerseys they're wearing right now. So it was really a cool moment to see that unfold on Friday. And hopefully, like I said, I know we'll see the benefits of that for years to come.
Head coach, you mentioned the other big name out of your program, Lincoln Kienholz, Ohio State. What's the latest on him? He's stuck it out there. He's trying to compete there. What's the latest for him at Ohio State?
Yeah, I mean, it's still anyone's battle between him and Julian Sand. You know, they're kind of neck and neck all through spring. You know, he used to start in the spring game, and, you know, they kind of split where they both had their ups and downs, and, you know, it's going to continue to be a battle. And, you know, he's back in town now, too, for a short little while before he's got to get out there and get back to work. But, I mean, yeah, he's as confident and as focused as I've seen him. And, you know, I think anytime you have that mindset with Lincoln, it's going to be tough to bet against him.
All right, Steve Steele, what a week. Pierre head football coach. He's had a great run as the Governor's head coach, winning state titles, and now Gray Zabel, a first-round NFL draft pick, the old lineman out of Pierre. Steve, good to have you, man. Thanks for the time.
Anytime. Thanks, Nate.
Appreciate you. Steve Steele on tonight, head coach, Pierre Governors. The program there, really, that's got to be something. That's got to be something. I know how this. So I had this experience. I'm from Montana. And my teammate got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. And so when something like that happens, I'm from a small town like that in Montana. And so I've been here in South Dakota for a long time now. And you look at it, you say, when that happens to a small town, smaller program, you know, it's a big, big deal. That's not like city or something like this. So I remember that, and I just thought, that's got to be very cool in Pierre. Got to be a really, really great thing. Because when that happened with my classmate, man, it was just off the charts. Off the charts. So congrats to Gray Zabel, his family, and all the hard work. A lot of time and commitment put in Gray Zabel, now a Seattle Seahawk first-round pick. Coming right back with who's hot and who's not. A Major League Baseball team makes my list, and a University of South Dakota football player makes my list next.
This is South Dakota's Sports Talk Show.
Could there be a better name? Auto Value Parts Stores. They aren't just about air fresheners or fuzzy dice. Auto Value Parts Stores are all about parts, auto parts, and advice. Pros who know auto parts with tons of tips when you need them the most. You want real value? Don't go to a place with a cute name. Go to Auto Value. Could there be a better name? I didn't think so. Your Auto Value Parts Store. We've got the parts, we've got the smarts.
Hey, Sioux Falls sports fans, there's a great new sports bar in Sioux Falls, Boston's Restaurant and Sports Bar on West Russell Street in the Ramada Water Park Hotel. If you want to watch games, UFC, they've got it, wall-to-wall TVs, and the best part, great food. Gourmet pizza at Boston's, tons of wing options, great burgers, and a lot more. Bring the family, bring the team, bring your crew to the new Boston's Restaurant and Sports Bar in Sioux Falls on West Russell Street. Plus, you can order online for lunch or dinner. Just go to bostons.com.
Driving around the Black Hills looking for a quick and easy stop to fix your cravings? Why not try Black Hills Coffee Cabin? Black Hills Coffee Cabin is the gateway to Hill City, serving the best specialty drinks in the Black Hills, like Dark Canyon Coffee branded espresso, as well as offering house-made pastries and breakfast burritos. We also have a variety of non-coffee drinks, including smoothies. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Conveniently located at 23828 Highway 385 as you enter the heart of the Black Hills. That's Black Hills Coffee Cabin in Hill City.
Here's your Fox Sports Rapid City forecast. A wind advisory continues until 6 p.m. tonight. Chance of rain showers tonight, otherwise mainly cloudy skies expected. Lows dip down to about 34. Northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. High temperatures reach up to 66. Tomorrow, mainly clear skies. Lows dip down to about 44 tomorrow night. That's your forecast on the Black Hills Sports Station, Fox Sports Rapid City. Right now, it's 41 degrees.
We're talking with Britt Wickett at Elevate Performance Physical Therapy for an Elevate Performance Health Minute. Britt, one of the injuries we hear a lot about in sports, an ACL tear. You can't prevent all injuries, but good sports performance training could help.
Yeah, Nate, one of the things that a lot of good sports performance training focuses on is trying to not only prepare athletes for the field of sport, but also try to mitigate their risk to sustain an injury. Unfortunately, things happen in sport. If anybody ever does experience an ACL tear that results in needing a surgery to fix that, it's important to have a therapist on your side who can help them through prehab, rehab, and then return to sport. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes a long time to get back to the field of sport, but it's not impossible to do it all by any means. So just having that end goal in mind can be really beneficial for the rehab process.
When it comes to ACLs and sports performance training and treatment, get started at elevateperformancesd.com.
Hey sports fans, it's Rob from the Firehouse Skybox. We are Rapid City's premier sports bar with everything you want for the best game watching experience. Bring your crew and take in the action while enjoying our Firehouse craft beers, specialty cocktails, and a great menu of Firehouse burgers, nachos, and more. We have every game, every night on our 35 big screens, and there's not a bad seat in the house. Come and watch your favorite team at the number one place for sports, the Skybox, right above the Firehouse, Main Street, downtown Rapid City.
Your sports, your show. From East River to West River, this is South Dakota's sports talk show, The Nate Brown Show.
Well, let's do this every night at this time of the Nate Brown Show. We wrap it up with who's hot and who's not, the stories you may have missed. You need to hear them, brought to you by the Pizza Ranch, home of everyone's favorite buffet, your locally owned and operated Pizza Ranch. Hit the buffet tonight in my Who's Hot category. How about this? The Denver Broncos finally get it right at running back. They've invited into their rookie minicamp University of South Dakota running back Travis Tice. That's a tough kid. That's a tough kid, man. Third in the FCS in touchdowns. I loved the way he played. Bowling ball, tough to bring him down. Travis Tice, a worker. Could Travis Tice be my Denver Broncos running back on the depth chart? Good luck to him. He's got invited to the rookie minicamp. Little kicker there, literally. Wyoming Cowboys kicker John Hoyland, also invited by the Broncos to rookie minicamp. Trying to take Will Lutz's spot. Keep on shanking kicks, Will. John Hoyland's coming after you. In our Pizza Ranch, who's not tonight? The Colorado Rockies. The Rockies have had a bad start to the year, 4-23. It's only the fifth time in Major League Baseball history where a team started 4-23. The fifth time in history. They have a minus 69 run differential after 27 games. The worst in Major League Baseball history. The Rockies catch the fever. Thanks for listening to The Nate Brown Show. The podcast going up right now. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
In towns all across South Dakota, it's your banker, the kids' Little League coach, and your brother-in-law who are the